Hey, instead of Steve, please like and subscribe. Please click on the Deck Heroes icon. Click on subscribe. It's 100% free. Blood in, blood out. And also don't forget to click on the notifications just so that you don't miss any amazing content. Okay, so this gentleman, 51, never married, no kids, and he's got a story to tell and the reasons why. And he's got a story to tell. So I have seen it through one time. I've put it on 1.25 speed just for all of our sanity. The one thing I will be looking out for is what he doesn't say. There's nothing wrong with this guy, by the way. There's nothing wrong with this guy. But with the male brain, I think that as a whole, we look at things objectively saying, yeah, okay, yeah, I'm a good guy. I'm not a bad looking guy. And I'm financially secure. So, I'm a good catch. But I say he's an ex-military guy, and there's definitely nothing wrong with that. That's a good thing, in fact. But I think beyond these fundamentals that he's just mentioned, it's also about, well, what does he say about, the social things that he likes to do? Because at the end of the day, it's not meant to be a marathon. And I'm not saying that he is. I'm just saying that, you know what I mean? I don't know if there's any emphasis on the social skills, in as much as if you're going to spend 24 hours a day with somebody or get that initial interest with somebody, then they need to know that it's going to be an interesting experience, it's going to be a positive experience, and everything else, you know what I mean, that you bring that kind of sexual interest as well. And there's a million other things, but it's not just these kind of fundamental kind of I say objective truths that you're trying to fulfill. There is a little bit of subjectivity in there as well. Anyway, let's go.
Hello. This is my very first YouTube video. I've watched a lot of YouTube. Interesting thing is, I started watching YouTube until 2020, during the lockdowns. I was remodeling my late father's house. He had passed away. I decided to remodel it and was looking up some information on flooring and plumbing and all that good stuff. And then all these videos popped up.
One thing, he has put the video in portrait. It's not down to myself. There's nothing I can do about it. Let's just roll.
And then noticed on the side all these other channels and videos. And that's what got me started in YouTube. And just consuming different types of content. And so I thought, after all these years, starting my own YouTube channel, but was not sure what would be my topic, what would I talk about. And so I thought, well, just share my story for now. Everybody has a story. And so I think when we share our stories, I think we'll be surprised on how many people can relate to them, and we realize we're not alone. And that's something that I've learned by watching YouTube as well. So what about me? What's something that is worthy of sharing? Of many things. I'm 51, never married, no children. And I know there's a lot of people out there like me that get asked why you're not married, why didn't you get married? You know, you're a good-looking guy. You've got a lot of good things going for you. I'm surprised some girl hasn't just snatched you up there, Jim. Throughout the years, I did date. And I always thought that I would be married and have children. I planned for it. I grew up in church, Christian church. And so I had those values growing up. And joined the military after I graduated high school. I ended up retiring from the military after 23 years, U.S. Army, and did well for myself, and was successful at it. And like I said, I dated throughout the years, and either the women that I liked didn't like me back in return, the ones that I was really interested in, and then those that I didn't think we had a connection, or I just wasn't into them, they were the ones into me. I've never been in a situation where it was mutual. I've never been in a dating situation where we were both into each other. It was always one-sided.
That goes back to what I was saying a little bit earlier about the sexual marketplace value. So yeah, he's got some fundamentals. He's definitely not a bad looking guy. He seems very stable, say financially secure. Those are the core elements, but there must be something else beyond that. And I apologise to him for freezing it here. I didn't mean that, obviously. It is what it is. But yeah, we'll look into the reasons beyond that if he gives us any clues. If not, let's keep on watching.
And not only that, watching YouTube, I came across the red pill content. Some of you are familiar with it, where you have content creators sharing about the nature of women and what they respond to, what they're attracted to, what their natural state is. That is something that I did not know years ago. And here I am, 51 years old, wishing that I had learned about the nature of women 30 years ago. And that would have helped me tremendously in my dating life. And I floundered around, just did not get it right. All the things that you could do wrong in dating, I did each and every one of them. Showing too much interest, probably appear too needy, too available. I was too easy for her. She didn't have to compete for me. I answered text messages too soon. I called too soon after dates. Go right on down the list. I did them and didn't realize what I was doing was actually turning them away. Then I discovered on YouTube this book called No More Mr. Nice Guy by Dr. Robert Glover.
Yeah, I take his point. I mean, yeah, there is an etiquette to getting to know somebody. I say, if you spent all that time in the military, there's going to be many things. It's about kind of positive body language and smiling and making somebody feel comfortable and having an attractive proposition about what you actually want to do on a date. You know what I mean? And just avoiding and not being awkward as well. I'm not saying that he is, but I say if you've been removed from society because you're in the military, then you haven't had that, what they call it, social reality testing, you know, to go out there and see what the everydayers do. So that might be an element. It doesn't come across, I must admit, it does not come across. But yeah, we don't know. And a little bit later, we'll also say beyond that red pill stuff that he's been reading, which may or may not be correct, he does give some other hints about his perception on what happened, about why he was unsuccessful. And I say one of those things is that the people, it's not that they were not interested in him. It's just the ones that he was interested in were not interested in him. That's what's known as Sod's Law. That can well happen to everybody, and no matter what level you're at in terms of your SMV. I say if you try and aim beyond that, then you're not playing to the odds. Still possible, but you're not playing to the odds. That might be it.
And it turns out that I am a nice guy. And I've heard women in the past say that to me, Jim, you're too nice. But I didn't necessarily know what that meant. What did that mean? And so that book really opened my eyes to what a nice guy is. And you'll hear, the expression, girls don't like nice guys, or nice guys finish last. And how true that is. And I would recommend any man who is a nice guy or been told that, to pick that book up and read it. And when I read that book, it was looking at myself in the mirror. And so that, being a nice guy, not knowing about women nature, is definitely some of the reasons why I was not successful in my love life, never got married, was not able to get married, and didn't have children. And like I said, I prepared for it. In the military, I prepared for it financially. I thought about my wife and I's house. I put money away, started investing in mutual funds, and thought, let's go ahead and start saving for that 20% down payment for a mortgage. I thought about our future kids. I figured I'd have at least 2 kids, put money away in mutual funds for that. And then our retirement into a Roth IRA, and been maxing that out ever since. And so and I still have that money invested, so with my military pension, I can live comfortably without having to work. And I have worked by choice. But right now, I'm not doing anything right now. I'm currently at a park, just enjoying myself here in Ohio. The weather's nice, 65 degrees right now, comfortable. And read all the books. The 5 love languages, the Men Are From Mars, Women From Venus, the dating books. Some of them were Christian-based, some of them were not, and consumed those books. I would listen to Christian radio back in the day when I was going to and from work in the Army, Focus on the Family with James Dobson and Bob Lepine, and just really thought I was going to set myself up for success so that when I did get married, that I would not be a part of that 42 to 50% of marriages that end in divorce.
Just a second. I haven't read those books. I'm going to be totally honest, but I think just getting back to the red pill, still kind of processing that bit, and saying it's not all going to be, it's not all going to be right, and it's not all going to be wrong. I think that type of that kind of area of debate, that red pill debate, it kind of gives you the process to try and explain from one point of view about why you're not successful. But it doesn't necessarily tell you how to be successful. It doesn't necessarily give you the solutions. If he'd have said, my man here, Jim B, if he would have said, I spoke to a dating coach, got some real useful insights on how to overcome these things. They looked at me, they looked at how I'm dressed, they looked at how I approach people. They gave me some, some really good tips about kind of conversation techniques. And I'm going to do a video on that myself. I'm going to do a video on that myself. But I've also got other people who are out and out dating coaches on my channel. Was it Coach? I can't remember his name now. It's been a while since I last. Anyway, he's on my channel. I have to look in the inventory. But anyway, let's go forwards.
Which brings up another point. In the military, the divorce rate is high. And I saw that. And I saw how men got ruined and struggled in divorce, losing assets, a home, living in their car, or living in their buddy's basement until they could get themselves back on their feet again. And here's the thing. In the 23 years I was in the military, not one of my Army buddies told me, Jim, you should get married. What did I routinely hear? Jim, don't do it. It's a trap. How often I wish, Jim, I was still single. Oh man, Jim, I miss my single life. Your time is your time. I admire you. Smart man, and the list goes on. And even I've had women tell me this too. Things like, well, Jim, marriage is not what it's cracked up to be. If you don't plan on having kids, stay single. And even sharing with me details about intimacy. And Jim, once you get married, she's going to stop doing certain things, and those things are going to stop, right? And so they were even straightforward with me, women. And so I think for a time there, I was not looking all that hard. I was looking but not looking, and I focused on my military career, school. I was able to earn a bachelor's degree, master's degree in the military. I traveled. I went up the corporate, I guess you could say the corporate ladder, the rank structure.
Okay, I'm just trying to process so I think he's just trying to say that the people that he knew were married were not given a ringing endorsement of, you should do this same thing, you know what I mean? And he did mention about kind of losing assets if things don't work out. But say if he's based abroad and he's hardly ever with his partner, then there may well be other reasons why those relationships were struggling. You know what I mean? And maybe there's a kind of a conflict. Maybe I've never been in the military, but maybe there's a conflict with wanting something to come home to, but because you're not kind of investing in that relationship at all, really, and you're obviously not present, well, it might not be the best time. And you know what I mean? It's probably like things in the wrong order. So that may well be the reason why those relationships weren't worked out. May not be. I'm not in the military, but most of all, the one thing I don't want to put across, or the one thing I don't want to let him get away with in some ways, is if things haven't worked out for you, then I think you've got to own it and look for those solutions and look for the answers, basically, not just kind of retreat and just say within your own little box or within that kind of little circle, that little bubble, some may say, that the reason why is definitely not because of me, it must be because of somebody else. And everybody can't be wrong. You know what I mean? So if you're putting yourself out there to, a reasonable number of times to a reasonable number of women of different types, and I say if you're getting no success at all, then you need to see a dating coach. And that's the thing you need to be kind of researching, because there's going to be, I promise you, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be some small little tweak, some little thing about etiquette which will give you ridiculously more success, especially if you've got all the things that he said about you're financially stable. He doesn't even need to work. You know what I mean? And they say he's not a bad guy, he's not that old and all that kind of stuff, and he's probably in good condition from being in the army and things like that. So there's going to be solvable things which he could do to get over that line. Whether he wants to still get over that line is a different question, but in our nature, I think we are happier. You can still be happy, but probably happier if you've got a compatible partner. You know what I'm saying? I'm not just saying anybody, but if you've got your compatible partner, would most people be happy? Yeah, can you be still happy without that compatible partner? Probably, yeah. At least for a given amount of time. But I think most people aim for those relationships, those enduring positive relationships. You know, I hope for everybody that that's what we can find. So anyway, let's go forwards.
From enlisted to non-commissioned officer to a warrant officer, and later retired as a captain. So I wore all the ranks in all the different Army schools, and I would say I absolutely crushed it. Did well, did everything I ever wanted to do in the military, and then some. And now I have the benefits, the pension. I still have my health. I'm very thankful that I survived it all. You know, Afghanistan veteran and all that. I don't have any PTSD. I'm thankful for that. And so I'm very thankful. And I always remind myself of that and just how blessed I am. And I'm on Facebook. I've been on and off on Facebook. You hate it and you love it, you know. But a lot of my Army friends are on Facebook. That's how I can stay in touch with them. And high school classmates are on there. And so it's nice having that Facebook to be able to reach out to those folks instead of just deactivating it completely and not having access to them. And so now, here I am, 51, with this new knowledge that I've learned on YouTube and how you educate yourself. You're learning about the true nature of how things are, from relationships to marriage, dating, women nature, from the corrupt government, how these churches and how corrupt they can be, and how they take advantage of people, and they're taking money from folks, and how it's just become so secular in the church now, and it's rock bands and skinny jeans and big screens, and there's hardly any type of true biblical practices going on. Is it really about conforming to the likeness of Christ and all of that? And it just seems that it's just a club in a big community center, and it's got disenchanted or discontented with the modern day church, so I don't attend them anymore. And then now, hearing and listening to other YouTube channels, it's possible that Jesus may have been a made-up character. That rocked my world. I'm like, what? How could that be? And it does make you wonder when you read the literature and you listen to the videos. It very well could possibly be that Jesus Christ was made up, and the Bible is myth and allegory, stories. And so that rattles you when you've based your life on the Christian faith. And so that's something that I'm now struggling with. My goodness, is this just a well-written book now? Even though I think the Bible's still a great book. And the Ten Commandments alone, my gosh, just think if we just followed those. So in years recent, my whole world has been flipped up.
I think we've definitely gone in a different direction. I think we've definitely gone off the topic anyway about why he's never married. He's kind of rounded things out with a religious perspective I was not expecting. I say I haven't seen this far in. I'm going to be honest with you. So okay, maybe he'll bring it back. Maybe he was looking for. If he talks about looking for a Christian lady and it's not the ones, I think he's in the army 20 odd years, maybe they're not the type of Christian lady before he went in, then when he came out, who knows? Anyway, let's see where he goes.
Right down in what to believe. And I know as I sit here in this park and I'm hearing these birds and I see the sky and the grass and the trees, I know this just didn't happen on its own. I mean, it's beautiful. And then there's a river right over here. And so something tells me this was divinely created. So I have to say I still believe in a creator. And but I just wonder sometimes, is what we were taught really the true story? And then just because we don't believe a certain way, or you have people that are Hindu, and some of my best neighbors were non-Christian. They were Indian. And practiced, you know, their faith, and gosh, you know, Buddhists and all of that. And to say that if they don't put their faith and trust in Christ, like the Bible teaches, that those folks are going to go to hell and burn for all eternity. I tell you, I used to believe that, and it scared the crap out of me. And so I have to question that. Is there really a place where a lake of fire where you burn for all eternity? So it's a struggle right now. It's an absolute struggle right now for me, where now I'm just questioning everything. And you know, you're learning about the pharmaceutical industry and how it's about profits, the medical industry. You look at how it's the system is set up to keep Americans sick. And look at us in America, how fat we are and sick we are, and the cancers, and it is huge business. And then the military, and here I am, a military man, learning and realizing now after I reflect on it, war is a big racket. General Smedley Butler, I think World War I time frame, General wrote a book about it. War is a racket, and it really is. As General Eisenhower said, the military-industrial complex, and I was a part of that. Joined the military with this hoorah patriotism, red, white, and blue, U.S. flag waving, serve my country. And then realized...
I'm just thinking, you know, the only reason I'm not talking, obviously I want to let him talk and like get his point across. Got no idea what area he's going to go into. I didn't know he was going to go into kind of the big pharma, the kind of pharmaceutical kind of in conspiracy, or we would say, or some kind of vested interests. And I wonder if he's going to go into like lobbying interests. You know, that used to be the traditional. Oh, I'm getting dragged in now. Wow. And now he's talking about army and you know, some kind of political motivation between, you know, just certain actions in relation to that. And okay, I'm not going to get drawn in. Let's just see what he's going to say.
And then you look at Afghanistan. I saw it firsthand. What a mess. And you spent all that time, spent all that money, and then you have to ask for what? And now I know why my father didn't want me to join the military. He was the Vietnam War era, but he was later. He passed away in 2020. And that's when and then that COVID hit, and then we were locked down, and then I inherited the home and decided to remodel the house, and that's when I started discovering the YouTube videos. But he was proud of me and what I was able to accomplish in the military, so it's nothing to sneeze at, for sure. And I took advantage of all the opportunities and got out of there unscathed, you know. But if I had it over to do again, I don't think I would have chosen that path, knowing what I know now. And so I guess...
That's quite interesting in its own way. So he went into the army from a young age. He's incredibly successful. I think he went up to the level of captain. But even then, he's second guessing whether he should have gone in at all. All good. Anyway, let's go forward.
Just something to share. Maybe there's people out there that are my age, or maybe even younger, that are in this position where it's like, wow, you know, you're learning things about yourself. You learn that you were a nice guy. You know, you realize now where you've gone wrong. And here's the other thing I learned recent. Social anxiety disorder. And I looked that up, and I was watching a video on that. And I think I exhibited some of that, and still in some ways do. But I've done well to overcome it. And I can get out in front of people. I can talk to people. I trained people in the Army. I taught classes and gave briefings and PowerPoint slides. And so I'm capable of doing it. I wasn't necessarily comfortable doing it, but I did it. And so I think that was a part of it. You know, even to this day, I don't really have much of a social life. I don't really have close friends. Let's just come right out and say it. Jim, do you really have a close friend? No.
He's talked about social anxiety disorder. He said that there's areas where he can do public speaking, but and that's fine. That's probably talking to a big group of men in the army, or big group of ladies in the army, or whatever it is. I don't know in the army. Anyway, army life. But in terms of social skills and going out there and making an approach and not being awkward and all that kind of stuff, question marks. So again, I think this guy can solve these problems. Is it Coach Carter? Can't remember. Yeah, by looking at some, he knows about YouTube, going on some of those kind of YouTube videos, getting some clues and having that reflection. And to be fair, I think he will probably reflect on things and from all the things that he said, you know what I mean? That he would reflect and think, oh, that's how I go about things, and that's what I'm getting wrong, and I'll try for different things. It'd be interesting to know what age lady that he's trying to get. So maybe, has he given up on trying to have kids? Or is he trying to get a 30-odd-year-old as a 51-year-old? And if he's going to attract somebody 20-odd years younger, if that is what it is, then he needs to kind of come across with an attractive proposition, you know what I mean, and say something of interest to her, not just the fundamentals of how he can go forwards, but he says he likes to stay in a lot as well. So that might well be challenging. And even if you met somebody that's older, to just meet them and say that you're not inclined to go out. So, I mean, what are you going to do? You know what I mean? So I think he's definitely going to have to push his boundaries and expand the range of interests that he has. Hopefully some of those interests are likely to overlap with a female. You know what I mean? So don't just say, oh yeah, I'll go out there and I'll go out there skeet shooting, or what is it, just deep sea diving, or climbing up flaming mountains or something like that. And I'm not saying there's no women that do it, but if you can do something which at least crosses over with what a woman's likely to enjoy, even if it was something simple like cooking. Cooking would be an amazing one. I mean, that's really good if you like staying in. You know, you go out for a couple of meals, you say, listen, I'm the next level chef now, and I just go to all these cookery classes. I really get into that, so maybe you can come over. Anyway, you can have that tip for free, my friend. Here we go.
I have acquaintances. I have my neighbors where I live. They help me, I help them. But a true, genuine friend, no. I used to belong to groups. I used to volunteer. I used to belong to what was called the Lions Club. And I'm no longer a part of that.
So, sorry, the one other thing I would want to say that is, I think they're dedicating your life to the service, and that's going to be anything. That's going to be the army or the police or something like that. Anything like that with unsociable hours where you could be taken away from the everyday things. That is the sacrifice. So you're putting your life at risk, and you're trying to correct whatever's wrong in order for the national kind of safety. But what is unsaid is you sacrifice your best years, and that is definitely more expensive for a woman because you got that body clock as well. You know what I mean? He did 27 years. If you're doing 27 years, say as a lady, just putting it out there, right? And you are kind of never available, you're always abroad, and maybe you do meet your man and he's also a soldier, and it does happen. It does happen. But for those who are completely dedicated like he has been and put relationships on the back burner, on the other side of that, you may well find that you're struggling. You know what I mean? But anyways, let's stick to his example. For a woman, I say, if you met somebody, a man that's already got kids, significantly more likely, that body clock kind of thing won't apply as much. I'm not saying for everybody, but you still got a chance. But for this man on the other side, I say he's given up his youthful years. He hasn't had a chance to be married or have kids himself, similar to the example I gave a minute ago about the ladies. And now he feels like he has to catch up and has to get those social skills, and age may well be a factor, even though he's a man. You know what I mean? That he can't get those women of childbearing age. It may not even be able to get women of an older age as well, as I say, if he's not got those social skills and social interests, and can obey the social etiquette. And I love saying that word, don't I, with the S. Last time. Anyway, let's go.
Someone was passing through there. But I think the social anxiety was something I recently discovered in myself. I didn't know. I thought something was wrong with me. I really did. Why is it that I am more comfortable on my own, by myself? And so I don't like, people, I guess, getting too close to me. I'm not one of those guys that invites people over to the house and have a barbecue and all that. I'd always go to other people's houses for get-togethers, but I never did them myself. And I always thought there was something wrong with me, why I didn't have a social life. Still don't really have a real social life. Don't have friends. Currently no girlfriend. And so it does get lonely. Some would assume that I'm gay. I'm not gay. I'm not that. And no, I like women just like, the next guy. So it's not that at all. And so, yeah, you do feel lonely. You do have needs that go unmet. And so, and then you want to get into a relationship in the U.S., but then you realize the way the divorce rates are, the way the system is set up, it makes you want to take a step back and say, you know what? I may get into a relationship in the U.S., but I'm sure as heck not going to get married. Is it too late for me? No. And I've been watching content creators living abroad in Southeast Asia and other places around the world that have left the U.S. They're expats and have found success in dating. They've got folks that are in the Philippines and finding what they say more fit, feminine, and friendly women in those cultures. They're more traditional in some of these places, unlike here in the United States with the high feminism, and a lot of women are masculine, and just the obesity. And I know personally I don't like all the tattoos. I don't like nose rings and purple pink hair.
So, okay, I was just reading the comments talking about being a passport bro. A passport bro is just going abroad to find traditional ladies. And it very much, like the guys were saying, basically, the guys were saying in the comments, it seems very much like he's on the road to that. Like he's already reached his conclusions that he's not going to find his lady necessarily in the West, but not in the States, from what he's saying. And yeah, get your passport out and it's a bit of an extreme thing to do, but as I say, he's ready to move his life on, and he wants to have kids and a loving relationship. It sounds from everything he said up till now, and you got to do what you got to do, maybe. So yeah, fair enough. Let's see the rest.
And I'm just not attracted to that. I mean, you see a lot of it here in the U.S. and single moms, a lot of single mothers, and so it just makes the dating scene in the United States a challenge. And so I've been contemplating doing the expat thing, maybe even part-time, and still keep an open mind, and maybe I could go to the Philippines or Malaysia. I qualify for a retirement visa with my age, income. I've done the research on it. I most certainly could go live in Malaysia, Thailand, Philippines on a retirement visa. And go in there and explore, take my time, get to know somebody. And if somebody I really, really, truly, genuinely connected with, she was younger than me, young enough to have children, maybe I would give it a go. I don't know if I'd get married, maybe, but I definitely would consider a long-term relationship and kids of my own, maybe. But then I struggle, well, Jim, you're 51 years old, maybe it's a little too late for that, just maybe.
I thought that when he was saying about, yeah, I'll have kids of my own, pause, maybe. He definitely wants kids of his own, and he can have kids of his own. He should have kids of his own if that's what he wants. You know what I mean? He can financially afford to have these kids. He's got the time in his life. He's effectively retired. At 51, he doesn't have to work. You know how many people are broke and having kids? You know what I mean? They're not stable, or they're not mature. They haven't had life experience to offer. You know what I mean? So they can have a positive life. They're just producing these kids with no goal and no direction. I don't think, something tells me that's not going to be the case with this gentleman right here. He's a man with a plan. So by all means, what's your name again? Jim, go for it. Do it, man. Do it for America.
Just have a relationship with no kids, and because you'll hear, man, I can't imagine being 51 years old and having kids and all this and that, and I get that. It would be a lot for me to sign up for, and the financial.
And again, I can't imagine being 18 and having kids. I'd rather be somebody of a decent age. I keeps on coming up with that kind of thing, what he's saying right now. And these are all the naysayers at the back of his mind who's somehow going to convince you somebody emotionally immature, basically in the early years, who doesn't know anything about anything, is somehow going to be better than somebody who's got the time to dedicate and the experience, the life experience to dedicate to a kid. Now, what would you rather have? You know what I mean? As you get older, fair enough, as a woman, and to an extent to as a man, in terms of the quality of your life-making, DNA, does degrade over time. Technically, well, it does. But it can be screened out. And I would rather have, long story short, somebody with experience and maturity who knows and has a direction and some success from his career and everything else. Would I rather have that, or somebody who's achieved nothing and is financially unstable and still working out their own mind? Come on.
Increase and all of that to do that. But we'll see. I still keep an open mind. That's the nice thing about us men, is we can postpone that, unlike women who have that time frame to have children. We can still make babies late in life, as long as the woman's young enough to have them. So anyway, that's all I really wanted to share. First YouTube video, get me started, get me used to talking on a screen, and maybe there's something in this that some people can relate to and resonate with, and just realize you're not alone. A lot of us are in the same boat. A lot of people are struggling. This economy, inflation, uncertainty, what to do. Even the younger generation are saying they're not marrying, they're not having kids, they can't afford it, and or they're just discontented with the family court system. A lot of the men are saying they're not afraid of getting married, it's the divorce and losing half of their assets, and I just wish we could change that whole system. So that is all. I'll just leave it at that. I don't want this video going way too long. I rambled along, but thanks for listening if you have, and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for your service. America's led the world for so long. We actually, and the UK too. You know, I mean, there's a little brother to the big brother in global stability. Anyway, Jim, thank you very much. I'm gonna go into these. I've never done this before actually. So, and also first video for him. He's getting 366,000. You know what I would give? You know how much of my long I would give for 366,000 views? Anyway, let's go. I'm going to try, and again, I've never done this before, and view some of these. Oh, I can do it. Comment number 1, the most frustrating thing as a man, not having a girlfriend and being single. Everybody assumes you are GAY, and it's so annoying. Yeah, defo. Well, I'm not saying that from experience, but I can see where they're going. So anyway, there's that. Hey Jim, and there's 456 replies to that. Awesome. Hey Jim, I'm 52, never married and no kids. Nothing wrong with this. I knew years ago that I'd be biting off more than I could chew with family life, so I never pursued it. Instead, I live a very easy, stress-free life. Interesting. What I'm really thinking is, listen, he's 52, exactly what our Jim was saying. If he decided a minute from now that, you know what, yeah, I think I want to have kids. You know what I mean? I'm not sure why he reckons he'll be biting off more than he can chew. But he knows his circumstances better than what I do, obviously. So, anyway, fair enough. And everybody has to make their own decisions, and nobody's forcing kids on anybody. You will have kids, young man. Anyway, 46, never married, no kids, and at this point I'll never give up this piece. No, fair enough. 55-year-old here, single, never married, and no kids. Doesn't bother me one bit. I love the piece. This piece. What does this peace thing mean? Peace. That's all good. This is just an example of a very decent man living in a very corrupt world. You've done very well for yourself, brother. Oops. It's good that you're questioning things and beginning to see the truth. Oh, that's a deep one. Beginning to see the truth. I think we're going into that kind of we're going into that grey area of some kind of conspiracy. I mean, no, listen, we ain't got time for that, my son. We ain't got no time for that. Huh. I'm 50, you're basically telling my story. I was in the Royal Navy. Thank you, sir. A British person. When I was younger, the women I liked didn't like me, and the women I liked... No, the women I didn't like... The women I liked didn't like me, and the women I didn't like liked me. I got there in the end. Brother, that's what, as I said earlier, that's what's known as Sod's Law, and every man in the world has been in that situation. And without a shadow of doubt, there's a lot of women in the world, if not every single woman in the world, is getting approached by people that they're not necessarily attracted to, you know what I mean? So, yeah, numbers game, my friend. I think that's all. Plenty more fish in the sea, etc. Insert the pun. Just 2 more. Imagine getting over 300,000 views in your first YouTube video. Proves that this authentic video resonates with a lot of people. Most definitely does, actually, yeah. 61, no kids, never married, LWP. I think he said something working pension, isn't it? For 18 years, no pressure, live your life responsibly. Anyway, all is good. I really enjoyed that video. I love that kind of life story video, and like as I say, he's an older man. I'm a man in my 40s, of a certain amount of life experience and degree in psychology and economics. But it's mostly the life experience and just an interest in that kind of human, kind of shared experience, which is always interesting. And yeah, I think my man here, Jimbo, he's obviously not a boy, Jimbo. He's got nothing to worry about. Anyway, please like, subscribe. That is Steve, and I am out.